Fantastic. With that, a very warm welcome to the November session of the Spencer 2022 webinar series. What is the Spencer Educational Foundation? We are a nonprofit organization that is dedicated to supporting students who wish to pursue careers within this industry, risk management, insurance, actuarial science. And we do so through various programs, including scholarships, internship grants, general grants to universities and other nonprofit organizations, and curriculum development at universities. So we focus on experiential learning opportunities. We do have some amazing guest speakers with us here today from Arch. We have Sue Srinivasan, the Executive Vice President of Distribution at Arch. And we have our very own Spencer Scholar, Sophia Holchi, who is an executive assurance intern at Arch. So welcome, Sue and Sophia, and I will turn it over to you.
Thank you, Tandeka. Hi, everyone. It's such a pleasure to be here today. And I'm here with Sophia. I'll let her say hi in a second. But when we talked about the opportunity to speak with everyone today, we thought the whole concept of mentors and sponsorships was an important one, especially as you're thinking about career development and progression, because having support for you as you progress through your career is important. And personally, when I was starting my career, I wish someone had enlightened me about how important a mentor and a sponsor could be for supporting my career and the growth and development, within the insurance industry, because it is so vast and there are so many things and opportunities that are out there to pursue. So, so we thought it would be a great topic to have a conversation about today. So Sophia, I'll let you come on and say hi.
Hi, everyone. I'm Sophia Holchi. Thank you all for being here. Thank you for having me today. I'm a senior at St. John's University studying risk management insurance. I have a minor in accounting. I'm also in the 5-year program, so I'm studying for my MBA in enterprise risk management. And in addition to all of that, I'm also an intern at Arch, and I've been with Arch since June of 2021, and I actually accepted a full-time position for post my undergraduate graduation. So I'll be starting at Arch in the summer, working on the executive assurance team in the financial services area. So I'm super excited to be here.
Congratulations, well done. And we did just get a message in the chat from Vinny Wang. Vinny says, hi, everyone, this is Vinny. I'm a first-year grad student at UConn, so University of Connecticut, studying actuarial science and statistics. Sorry about not being able to turn on my mic. It's a huge pleasure to be here today. So we're here with you, Vinny. I'm also sorry you're having mic issues, but feel free to pop questions in the chat throughout the session. Thank you for being here.
Awesome. Thank you. So just from a housekeeping perspective, as Tandeka mentioned, we'd love to make this session as interactive as possible. So feel free to hop in and either come off mute or send a note in the chat so we can make our discussion relatable and relevant to everyone here on the call. So Tandeka, will someone be monitoring the chat, and feel free to interrupt at any time?
Yes, absolutely. So I'll monitor the chat and I'll do that. And Sophia's controlling the PowerPoint slides.
Perfect. So Sophia and I are going to sort of, take this conversation, and we're both going to sort of provide you with our thoughts and feedback throughout the hour as well. So to get started, I don't know if anyone has actually thought about what a mentor is and what a sponsor is, and how both types of support can be really important in career progression. I mean, developing a career is hard enough, let alone going about it all alone is even harder. So without guidance and support, it can be really difficult to gain perspectives and to think about other types of roles and advancement opportunities because you may be limited within the world that you currently are operating in, working in, collaborating in. So knowing how to get the right folks to notice your potential and to support your growth and development is really important. And so we thought it'd be a great opportunity to talk about, what is the difference between a mentor and a sponsor? Why are they both important in different ways to support career progression? And then how can you even go about identifying who a mentor and a sponsor may be? So, Sophia, do you want to maybe flip to the next slide? Awesome. So what's the difference between a mentor and a sponsor? Both types of individuals can provide guidance and help to help grow your network, to grow your understanding of the industry. They can provide you with constructive criticism when you need it, but they're also very important in developing colleagues, employees, friends into leaders. So typically mentors and sponsors advise on a career path, but they can also focus more specifically around an activity or an interest. So if we think about mentors, and that might be something that many of you on the phone currently have or have thought about, what exactly is a mentor? So specific to the workplace, a mentor is someone that can provide you with guidance and career advice relative to your industry, your role. And generally, they have some experience working in the same field as you, and they may even have had the same job or role that you're in. And sometimes they can act as a role model for the mentee. You can bounce career questions off of them, ask them what they do in certain situations, and they can also help you clarify your personal vision for your career. So having a mentor can really help career development because you're tapping into knowledge and experience of someone who's achieved similar goals or who is on their way to doing the same thing. But one important thing to note is mentors don't necessarily have to just be for career guidance. I'll give you a great example for me personally. I have a friend of mine who I went to college with, and he and I have known each other since we were 18 years old. When we were first left our homes to go away to college, which is exciting, but a completely different universe. But we've stayed friends throughout that time. But what's interesting is my friend, his name is Bruce, is a very different person than I am. He thinks about things differently, and he has very different perspectives that I've grown to really appreciate. So from time to time, I've tapped into Bruce as sort of a personal mentor. And he's helped me navigate through some, difficult family questions and concerns, and has given me a different perspective on how some of my family members may be recepting things, and to think about different ways for, engagement and sort of working through any kind of issues that I've had with my family. So I've looked at my friend Bruce as a mentor just personally to sort of help and give me guidance and navigate some stuff that happens personally, family, friend-wise. So I don't know if anyone on the line has had any experience with a personal mentor that may not be directly related to your career.
How about you, David? You look like you want to say something.
I wanted to ask, like, what was the exact question you asked, like the last statement?
About having a mentor that's more personal, and it may not be something that's formal. It can be something informal, like a friend that you go to, to say, hey, I have this other friend that I can't seem to get, through this one issue we're working on together, or, we're planning this trip and we are totally different universes on where we're coming from. So I was just curious if anyone had any kind of personal friends that they've been going to for support and guidance.
Yeah, yes, definitely. When I came to the United States the first time, I met this professor at school. he's not directly related to the course I'm studying and all that, but we got connected through, I was part of this NGO called Compassion International, right? And then he was also a sponsor for other kids from Africa, just like me. So when he realized I used to volunteer for that particular NGO, I grew up in it. I graduated and became a volunteer for them. I also tried to help other people in it. So he just automatically became my kind of a mentor. Like he was guiding me, teaching me things. He introduced me to GIS, that's Gamma Iota Sigma. So it became more of like personal, and then a friend of mine who is trying to help and mentor me and all that. So yeah, he's not directly related to my course of study, but he's a mentor to me.
That is a great example, David. And how cool. What an awesome experience for you to be able to kind of be a mentee for a professor. That's great. Anyone else have any thoughts or comments before we start talking about, what a sponsor is? So when you think about sponsorship, it wasn't something that I actually thought about until I was 15 years into my career. I was working at a very large organization, which was a fantastic experience. And I had great exposure to clients. We were dealing with complex issues that were insurance related and, dealing with certain risk management questions and risk managers that had very interesting portfolios. But when you're working at a large organization, it's sometimes difficult to get that individual recognition and reward for basically competing for a promotion. So a sponsor is someone who's in your workplace who will be an advocate for you. And this could be a colleague, but it usually is a leader within the organization. A sponsor is someone who's rooting for you and your career development. They make sure that you're on the radar and that other decision makers know who you are. And they tend to advocate around your individual skill set for promotions, for raises, and can provide you with other opportunities for career advancement that may not be necessarily in your periphery. While we like to think that our good work speaks for itself, sometimes at a larger company and without a sponsor, you could get overlooked. So this is why sponsors are usually in a position of leadership when compared to the person they're sponsoring, sometimes referred to as a protege. They see the potential in this protege and they want them to succeed in their career. So they help their proteges by navigating through strategy, career advancement opportunities, introductions to other people that are both internal from a company perspective or maybe related within the field. So if you look at the slide here, I tried to identify, the similarities and differences between mentors and sponsors, where a mentor is, someone who has experience that maybe you as a mentee can offer. And it can be formal and informal. Some organizations have formal mentoring programs. They help to craft a career vision. They provide you, they're a sounding board for you and can help guide through some difficult instances and situations that you just may need some advice on, as opposed to a sponsor who's really advocating on your behalf for career progression and advancement. So Sophia, as we were talking about, mentors and sponsors, you had mentioned that you have been working with a mentor informally and less formally. And so I was wondering if you'd would like to share a little bit about your experiences.
Definitely. So I have about 3 or 4 mentors that come off the bat that I could think of. Some of them are through the Greenberg School of Risk Management's alumni board. Some are through our Gamma Iota Sigma, our chapter of Gamma Iota Sigma. We have a mentoring program from my freshman year, I remember. I still reach out to my mentor every now and then. just kind of now as vice president of my chapter, just see how things were run, ask for advice. A lot of things got lost during COVID, so how do we move forward from there? But she's also been more of an informal mentor as well, which is pretty great because it's been a few years and I still am able to tap into that. But then again, I have a mentor through the Spencer Foundation, Audrey, actually, which is really great too, that I'm able to connect with her and see her at industry events in addition to connecting monthly. But it's really great just having people there that just want to see you succeed and just offer you advice. They're not getting paid to do this. They're doing this out of the goodness of their heart, and they really just have a plethora of knowledge that they just want to share and help you to just move forward in your career and launch yourself.
That's awesome. And that's awesome that your mentor is on the line here.
And I'm very happy to be here. It's been a great collaborative process.
So for me personally, I've similar to Sophia, I've had both formal and informal mentors, and I've been a mentee in different situations, and it's been interesting. I would say from both a formal and an informal perspective, both have been really rewarding experiences. So when I was earlier in my career, I was working with an amazing woman who I still think so highly of, even though she's retired and is enjoying life with her grandchildren now. But when we were working together, she said, Sue, I really think you would benefit from a mentor. And I'd love for you to meet an individual who's still in the industry now, that I think you two would really connect, and I think she'd be a great mentor for you. And so it was a very informal arrangement. And, when we met, we really clicked. My background was in casualty, and this individual's background was in casualty as well. And, we, to this day, still have a mentor-mentee relationship with each other. She's moved on to a different organization. I've moved on to a different organization. And it's funny, we're actually now collaborating on some initiatives that we have at her new organization and with our casualty teams here at Arch. So it's actually been a fun experience for me from that perspective. And at Arch, I know we have a couple of folks who are in our HR team. We have a formal mentorship program, which I've been, part of as a mentor, and I've been paired with an individual who I would have never gotten to know had it not been for this formal program. And I am so grateful for that, because he is a fantastic individual. And, we've just clicked in numerous ways, not just professionally, but also personally. I mean, one of my personal things is I'd love to travel. And he just came back from an awesome trip to South Africa, Tandeka. And he was raving about the trip, and he was showing me photos. And I'm just so grateful for the fact that we were connected in a mentor-mentee relationship. And I'm helping him kind of work through some career questions that he's had. But now it's a personal relationship, so it's been a fantastic experience. So both mentors and sponsors provide guidance and advice. However, mentors can be more focused on helping you individually develop a certain skill set, or thinking about a career path, providing advice on situations. They may or may not work at the same company, but they can certainly help with career challenges and solving problems, defining career goals, deciding on what types of jobs and careers might be best suited for you. But then if you look at a sponsor, they're more actively advocating for you, recommending you for promotions, advocating for career success within your organization. And what they tend to do is include you within their own professional network. They may go out of their way to introduce you to people who can help advance your career. But sponsors usually work at the same company as you do, so that they can recommend and support you for a career progression promotion perspective. So any questions on that before we move on to the next slide? Great. All right, so what are some things that you could do to identify a mentor? First, you can look at your personal and professional networks. And you may also be lucky enough to be part of an organization that has a formal mentoring program. And then you may want to seek out, if it's something you're doing more at the grassroots level, more at an informal level, you may want to think about some folks that you really respect or had a role that maybe one day you'd like to advance into, or have had a role that you were interested in their professional experience. It would be great to have work with someone who really understands your role and the industry that you're currently working in, and so that they have a good base for recommendations, advice, etc., for you to kind of tap into and work with them on. And the other thing that is key is make the ask. Sometimes it can be intimidating to say, oh, I really think this person would be a great mentor for me, but I'm sort of afraid to ask the question. But I would say most people would be really flattered that you think so highly of them and would even consider them as a mentor. So definitely make the ask. And if it's not something that's more of a formal setting. So I don't know if anyone on the line has had any experience with identifying and sort of aligning with a mentor that's not been part of a formal program.
I actually recently have. So last week, I actually attended the CPCU Conferment Luncheon, where we were invited as St. John students to attend. So I took that opportunity. I love going to different types of events like that, just because it is, again, a great opportunity to network, meet new people, just learn something new. And I was speaking to one woman just when we walked in. I always find it a little awkward at the beginning, all the St. John students stay together and trying to branch out. It's a little intimidating at first. But this one woman had approached the table I was standing at with my one friend, and her and I just connected. We were just talking. We ended up sitting next to each other. We talked about our career paths, both our interests. She was very analytical. I also was very analytical. I actually started off as an actuarial science major. And just, we were talking the whole time, and it clicked. By the end of the luncheon, I had asked her, she actually asked me, she's like, I think this could be a good match. I think we really clicked. If you would like me to be your mentor. And I was like, yes, I was thinking the same thing. You just beat me to it. So now, again, it's been about a week. I've already contacted her a couple of times, but it's great to have someone that you just when you weren't expecting it, that you made that connection with. And she's at a point in her career where she understands where the very beginning, being a young individual, especially a young woman in this industry, it can be a little overwhelming at times. But it's good to have her perspective, and it's been great to able to identify that. And I'm excited for where this other mentoring opportunity goes.
And Sophia, so she works at a different organization, right? And
yes.
So that's interesting, right? That perspective of working at a different organization and kind of navigating her career is really kind of cool. That's great.
Yeah, definitely. She works at not underwriting at all. So it's
really
different. Yes. She does like analytics. So I thought it was really great to just she's like a liaison between the actuaries and the brokers. So I thought that was a great different perspective, kind of unique. That why not? That's something that gets lost at times too. We need to know how to interpret things. So I thought that was something exciting.
So does she work at a brokerage organization?
Yes.
So that also is an interesting element, because you're going to be graduating into career at a carrier. So having someone in your network who can help and guide to provide you with the perspective of a broker as you're an underwriter is really, that's awesome. It's a great perspective to have. And I'm sure you're going to have a ton of interesting things to talk about just being on both sides of a deal.
Yes, exactly. Looking forward to it.
Great. Thanks for sharing. Does anyone else have any examples they'd like to share or talk about?
Mine wouldn't be an example per se, but just to add to the last point there, to make the ask, right? So that is one thing I realized, that we actually have to really start that relationship, approach them. They want to see that kind of enthusiasm or kind of driving you, that, okay, like you actually really value them or something, right? And after that, anytime you speak with them, try to listen more, and then let them know that you actually really value whatever they are telling you or any feedback that they are giving you. That is one thing I also kind of studied. Initially, I am kind of shy and laid back, and I wouldn't really ask questions, but I realized the few questions that I asked, they really appreciated it. So that is one thing I just want to add.
Yeah, it's so true. It's really a great point. Thank you for sharing that, David. It can be daunting, but it is, as someone who's approached, it's flattering. And I think everyone here on the line should also think of themselves as a potential mentor. Your experiences and what you bring to the table is also really valuable to other folks. So, you could certainly function, you can be both at the same time. So, that's very, very cool. So our next slide talks about how to identify a sponsor and what are some of the key things to look for when you think about a sponsor. So some questions that you may want to ask is, who makes pay, promotion, or project decisions that affect you individually or you or the organization that you work for? Which leaders could benefit from your career advancement? And, which senior leaders have a network or a platform that can help support you and your employer as you advance your career? So again, sponsorship wasn't something I had thought about personally, but as I mentioned, I was at a larger organization. And once you start to make those career advancements, it gets harder and harder to get recognized. There are fewer and fewer opportunities. And I remember a situation that I was in where I was hoping to get promoted, and the decisions around promotion were only made once a year. And when that time came around, I did not get promoted, and I was disappointed because I thought, I've been performing well. I thought I exemplified all of the, checked all the boxes on what was needed to get promoted. And so I was thinking, like, well, how do I get this promotion? And then I started getting to know a senior woman at this organization who became my sponsor. And she advocated personally for me to get that promotion in the next year that came around. She had written emails to the CEO about the great job that I was doing. She had provided examples of presentations that I had been in and recommendations that I made that have benefited our clients. And then when that same round of promotion came up the following year, I got the promotion. So I could specifically say that my career directly benefited from my sponsor, and and having me promoted also helped my sponsor, because we'll talk about in a couple of slides, like what the impact is on a mentor and a sponsor to support growth and development of folks within their firm. So one of the things I thought would be interesting to talk about is what both sides are. Like, what are the impact on a mentee and a mentor, and the impact on a protege and a sponsor? So the next set of slides sort of goes through that. So
Um,
go ahead,
sorry.
David.
Yeah, sorry. Just before you go to the next slide, one thing I also realized is how to identify a mentor, right? We should know if the person is easily accessible, because sometimes you reach out to some of them and you don't hear back from them like in weeks, months, and stuff like that. So I think that should be one of the main points to also consider if the
Yeah.
person is easily accessible.
Absolutely. That's a great
Yeah.
point.
And I think another thing also, because I hear that a lot from students, right, that are maybe initially a little bit, shy, timid to reach out, to a potential mentor in the first place. And then if they do reach out, what do you do when the person doesn't respond, right? When the person doesn't reply, like what are some respectful ways to follow up with that person to see if they are open to being a mentor? And how often do you do that, right? How often do you follow up with a person?
Mhm. Yeah, those are because it can get uncomfortable, and it's not meant to be. It's meant to be like a mutual support in many ways. So, and it's strange because we live in a different world now, right? I mean, historically, people would say like, "Oh, it's best to approach and ask someone to be your mentor in person," but now that whole rule and dynamic has changed, and the virtual world is just as acceptable, and we've learned to be personal in this virtual world as well. So reaching out as a follow-up, I think, should be something you consider after a couple of weeks. And some other things to consider is there something that happened that may be an experience or a situation that might be relatable to your potential mentor, that could be sort of eye-catching and noteworthy, that kind of sparks the person, oh yeah, I did see that happened. Let me get back to David on that. I missed his email. I was so busy. I was traveling. But that was a good point that he made, or that was an interesting thing that happened. So let me respond to that right away. So having something that you could connect with, that is not just the direct, yeah, I'm following up on my request, but hey, by the way, I'm getting approached for a new role and I'd love to get your thoughts on it. Might be an interesting way to follow up as with an additional ask.
Fantastic. Thank you for that. I'm also thinking maybe we could pause for a moment to do little introductions. A couple of people joined us today. I saw Stuart, Lily, Rebecca, Andrew, Sumandeep. If you guys are in places where you could say hello, we'd love to hear from you. If you're a student, please tell us, which school do you go to? When do you graduate? What's your major? Stuart, would you like to go first?
Yeah, for sure. Hi everyone, my name is Stuart. I'm from the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign. I'm studying actuarial science and plant biotechnology, and I'll be graduating this upcoming May. Nice to meet you all.
Nice to meet you. Rebecca, would you like to go next?
Yeah, hi everyone. My name is Rebecca, and I'm a graduate student at St. John's University, and I'm majoring in actuarial science, and I'll be graduating in January 2024.
Awesome. Thank you for being here. How about you, Lily? Are you able to say hi? Oh, you're unmuted or on mute. Okay, but we see you. We see you here. And feel free to, I'll look for your link on LinkedIn so we can connect with you on LinkedIn afterwards. But would anybody else like to say hi that didn't get a chance earlier? I see James, Andrew, and if not, that's okay. Oh, Andrew, go for it.
Hi, I'm Andrew De Leon. I'm not a student. I've been in the industry for a while, but I've always had mentors and people that have inspired me. And I love hearing the conversations. It's encouraging from hearing that there's young people in the industry doing it. And it also is a good kind of repetition for me to like continue to network and share what I know and learn from others. So.
Fantastic. Thank you for being here. Perfect. Thank you so much. Awesome. It just made it a little bit bigger on our ends. So perfect. Thank you. Thank you. Over to you, Ms. Sue.
Thank you. Well, I'm excited that we've had some more people join, and please feel free to kind of jump on in and ask any questions or provide us with any things, like Andrew would love to hear some of your experiences too as we go through on mentorship and sponsorship. So one of the things that I thought would be important to talk about is, what the impact would be on a mentee and even a mentor, because as we mentioned earlier during our conversation, I think everyone on this call can consider themselves a potential mentee and a potential mentor. So some of the ways that that a mentee gets impacted with a mentor is helping set concrete examples of what it takes to achieve your professional goals, and then working with someone on that, collaborating on it. I mean, you're not in this alone, and there are people there who would be excited and energized to help support you on your professional journey. And this person can certainly be a sounding board to help support when there are times of uncertainty or change. There's a lot of change going on all across, not just our industry, but the world. And it's nice to know that there's someone in your corner that you could lean on for support and get advice from. Personal growth and self-worth, self-confidence are all things that can be supported through a mentor. And if the mentor is within your industry, great person to bounce ideas off of and thoughts, and maybe new thoughts on career navigation and different opportunities. I mean, one of the great things about the insurance industry is how versatile it is and how many different ways there are for career progression. I mean, I too was an actuarial student when I started. I got my MBA in actuarial science from St. John's, and then I moved into an underwriting role, and then I moved into a broker role, and now I'm in a distribution role. So, my career has taken lots of turns and had lots of iterations, and that's what's so great about insurance and risk management. There's just so many opportunities for you to continue expanding your career progression in different ways. And a mentor is certainly someone who can be a sounding board for you as you go through these iterations. From a mentor perspective, there are lots of benefits as well, some of which include learning how to be a more effective leader and working with a whole new generation of folks to groom and grow and help them develop. As I mentioned, there's a lot of change going on right now in this world. And as you're speaking to different people with, who are at different levels in their career, gaining perspectives is also a great opportunity from a mentor perspective and a mentee perspective. Emotional intelligence, which is something around like how to relate to folks and how to be able to sort of appreciate other perspectives, is hugely beneficial no matter what you end up doing in your career. So on our next slide, we talk about the impacts from a sponsorship and protege perspective. As a protege, building a network as your sponsorship is introducing you to their network, making those connections with a whole set of people that you may not necessarily have had access to, which certainly will open the doors for career progression and thinking about new opportunities that may not even have crossed your mind. Very oftentimes leaders are aware of changes that are happening within organizations that are not necessarily disseminated yet because things are still in progress, but that can help keep you in mind for certain opportunities that may be forthcoming. It's an opportunity to get feedback directly from someone who has a vested interest in your progression and wants to promote you throughout the organization. They're providing you with visibility to a whole set of stakeholders that you individually may not have had access to and visibility with. And then, getting rewarded for doing a good job, and having someone advocating for you from that perspective. So from a sponsorship perspective, identifying proteges helps you enable to build a stronger team and aligning skill sets appropriately. As a leader may think about building a team, you want to make sure that it's diverse from a skills perspective, but also from a thought process perspective. So this enables you to get to know folks and identify who would align nicely with the team that you're trying to build. And then as you're supporting folks, there's trust that gets built, which is a difficult thing to do. And it's important and it's really rewarding. Within the organization, gaining credibility for being able to build a talented team that shows the skills and displays the skills that you want to employ within the team that you're building is great. And creating that legacy, a network of folks who are talented and align well with the skills you're trying to promote and develop on your team as well. So there are lots of benefits from both sides of the spectrum, from a sponsor, protege, mentor, mentee perspective. So that was a lot. I don't know if anyone has any thoughts that they wanted to share or questions that they had. Thinking about sponsorship is different. I feel like there's a lot of rhetoric around mentorship, and it's a really important aspect, but the sponsorship aspect is important as well. So I'd love to hear any thoughts or feedback that anyone on the line has.
How about you, Stuart? What are your thoughts? And don't be shy, guys. We have about 8 or so minutes left of the session, so please feel free to unmute yourselves and jump in.
This is Andrew. I have to jump off at 11, and I might have missed the beginning, but what's the difference between a sponsorship and a mentor?
Yeah, sorry you missed the beginning, Andrew. We did talk about that. I don't know, Sophia, if you might want to flip to that first slide that shows the two categories. There you go. So mentors are folks who are there to kind of support you. It may be a sounding board for you to help your career navigation and vision, providing feedback, having situations that you want a different perspective on, sharing sort of the rules of advancement. Like they're really a support for your growth and development. Where a sponsor is someone who's actually promoting you within your organization. So they tend to work at the same organization as you do and will identify you for career advancement, for promotions, for opportunities to advance your career because they are senior and have a network of other senior leaders that they're connected to and who trust their judgment and their recommendations.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thanks for the question.
I'll add a quick comment, Sue. I think like you early on in my career, I was of the opinion that if you did a really good job, you're in a position to get that next promotional opportunity. And at one point I was on the claims side and wanted to move over to the business side to manage product. And it was really the sponsorship and the opening up of networking opportunities to get to know the folks that were in that room and that we're talking about the smaller audience to be able to achieve that. So completely agree with your comments there. They're great.
Thank you, Ken. All right.
So just your thoughts on one question. In terms of, mentors and sponsors, have you seen a time, or do you see where someone could, translate from at one point being a mentor and at another point being a sponsor? I mean, could someone serve both roles? How do you view that?
Yeah, I think it depends on the situation, and sort of it's important for. And the lights just went out of my, in my, I don't know if I look darker, but yeah.
No, you're fine. We can still see you. You're
I'm sitting in the
fine.
dark now. It must be like a sensor here, but sponsor, it's important for, I think, a sponsor to be part of the organization that you're in so that they can nominate and recommend you for promotion within the organization, whereas a mentor doesn't necessarily need to be. But I think they do serve different purposes, and it is possible to have a mentor who turns into a sponsor, certainly.
So would you say we need both of them, or we just need one of them? What would you say?
Ideally, it would be great to have both. And I say this because I think navigating a career is hard enough. So feeling like you have support, as much support as you can to help guide, make recommendations about things you may not have even thought about is really helpful. Sometimes I wish I'd thought about this a lot earlier in my career. I might have made some changes earlier on than, spending 10 years in an organization thinking, did I just spent 10 years here? Is this the right way for me to be spending my time? But yeah, I do think it's important to try and cultivate both if possible. Thank you for asking that, David.
Nice. And Stuart, did you have a comment or a question, Stuart?
Not really. I was just gonna say that I wasn't very familiar with sponsorship before, but I've been in several mentorship programs before, and I think that sponsorship is definitely an interesting concept. And yeah, it's been a really nice workshop overall. Thank you so much, Sue and Sophia, for all the resources that you've shared in this talk, and for Thandeka for organizing this series.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, we do. Yes, please go ahead.
Yeah, and I realized we spoke about the pros of maybe having a sponsor, and then went about what are some of the cons, like some of the disadvantages of being a sponsor or being a mentee or a mentor, like any.
I think I might have missed a little bit of that and cutting in and out. Thandeka, did you get all of that?
Yeah, so he's asking about any cons that might be involved with being, either with the mentor-mentee relationship or with the sponsor, relationship. So he was saying we talked a lot about the pros, but are there any cons on either side?
So I mean, one thing that is important to consider is the amount of time that it takes to really be a mentor. And I think, because mentorship is working very closely with the individual, and it's very personal about, your career vision or helping develop a career vision. So it can be an investment from a time perspective. So you want to make sure that you have that time to dedicate to supporting someone as a mentee, or as a mentor, from being able to have the bandwidth to support a colleague or a friend or someone within your network. So that is definitely something to consider. And from a sponsorship perspective, I think being able to identify individuals who align with you and the talents and the skill set is also important, because you're recommending to your network that certain individuals should be promoted. So it's important to make sure that they align with who you are as an individual and the skill sets you'd like to promote.
Absolutely. And I think we might have time for one more question. So James, our student from Ghana who's dialed in, he's asking if it's advisable to have both your mentor and your sponsor within the same department or same organization. What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, I think it's absolutely fine. You certainly want your sponsor to be part of your organization so that they can promote you and recommend you for opportunities within the organization that they may hear of or know of, because they have the credibility of the organization, right? As someone who can recommend you, who has a demonstrated level of success within the organization. From a mentorship perspective, they can and can't. They can be part of your existing organization, or they might not be. And there are, I think, pros and cons from both perspectives. So I think it's possible to have both a mentor and a sponsorship at your current firm. It certainly helps to have a platform of, understanding, because every culture, every organization is structured differently. So it's nice to have someone who has that understanding to help support you both from a mentorship perspective and from a sponsorship perspective.
Awesome. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So we are out of time, but thank you all so much for being here today, especially Sue and Sophia. Thank you so much for hanging out for an hour with us and sharing your knowledge and your wisdom. You were throwing a lot of gold nuggets out there, so hopefully everyone who attended the session today is catching all of these gold nuggets, and will store them for a rainy day in the future. Or perhaps it's something you can turn around and implement immediately, as you're all college students. So thank you all again for being here today. If you are a student in the audience and you have not yet applied for a Spencer Scholarship, please take a second and do that today. It is a very simple, streamlined process. The scholarship application is open until January 31st, so you do have some time to get that completed. But this was our last session for 2022, so we're going to pick up the webinar series again starting from January 2023. So thank you all again. Thank you for all the comments that are coming in. Everybody's saying thank you so much. This session was very helpful. So glad to be here. So enjoy the rest of your afternoon. We will catch you guys next time.
Thank you, everyone. It was such a pleasure to meet you all. Look forward to seeing you in person at the next Spencer event.
Yes. Awesome, awesome. Thank you all. Have a good
one. Thanks everybody. Thanks Tandeka. Well done. Congrats on the last one of the year. Thank you, Sue and Sophia. Take care, everybody.
Have a good one. Bye.